Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Schuh Show. I am your host, Rob Schuh. I hope all of you are feeling as I am right now. That is, some excitement, right? There's still some excitement about what the 49ers might do, but I have a feeling some of you may also be feeling what I felt today, which is a little bit of frustration in that the 49ers did not make a considerable number of moves. And that's how I'm going to kick it off today. I've got a few topics that I want to roll through, but I really want to get your interaction in this show. I want to know what your impression is of the San Francisco 49ers first day in the tampering period. It is going to be an interesting couple of days. So I want to talk about the fact that I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just disappointed. I'm stealing this line from something I heard quite often as a child. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad about anyone that we lost in Laken Tomlinson because of the price of that deal. I'm not mad about anyone that we didn't get, although there are a couple that I would have been happy if we had gotten them at the price that they ended up going. I was just hoping for more. I was hoping for some fireworks, and I let my expectations exceed my own logic because I knew going into this that the 49ers would not be in on the vast majority of these premier free agents, and that if their own free agents became some of the first names off of the board, that probably meant that the San Francisco 49ers were going to be out on those free agents. So nothing that has happened so far is actually all that surprising. Even still, it is disappointing that the NFL hypes up this tampering period, gets us all jacked for 9 a.m. Monday morning, and it pops off, and your team is not mentioned in any substantial way. So let's get into your comments. I want to know how you're feeling about this as well. Stivers 209 show, Stephon Gilmore to the San Francisco 49ers. We will pick off the ball a lot next year. The Niners defense will be the number one defense in the National Football League. There has been some linking of Stephon Gilmore to the San Francisco 49ers, as well as the Las Vegas Raiders. I will get to that topic in just a moment. Silent Seth, one of our sneakerheads coming in. I remember when people said Jimmy was worth a first. That seemed hype to me, but I'm a guy who still believes Jimmy to be worth a second rounder. So I may be a little batshit crazy myself. Admin Honor coming in. Currently, we are $9 million over the cap. We have no money to sign nobody while Jimmy is still on the payroll. I do want to address this because that is true that the Niners are currently over the cap, but that is a misnomer to say that the 49ers are unable to sign any free agents right now because nobody's actually being signed right now. This is the legal tampering window. So the 49ers and other NFL teams do not need to be underneath the hard cap of the NFL until the new league year begins, which is 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday. So the 49ers have until that time to get underneath the cap. They have other options that they can use to get underneath the cap as well. They can restructure. There are about 4 deals for the 49ers that make the most sense. Trent Williams is on there. Eric Armstead is on there. Jimmy Ward is on there. And one other that's escaping my mind at the moment. But the Niners can get underneath the cap without trading Jimmy Garoppolo. They will need to free up some additional funds some way, somehow, most likely through a trade of Jimmy G, in order to sign any other big name free agents. But right now, they could come to terms with anybody and figure out how to get underneath the salary cap in the future. Raphael 5629ers coming in to say, what's up, Rob and everyone? What's up, Raphael? Good to see you here. Quesadilla, Thrilla, 71, Silver. We would still need someone opposite Bosa to generate some heat, or even the best cornerbacks will struggle. But I agree, if we had Gilmore, the secondary would be legendary. I also agree that adding Gilmore to the secondary would be a phenomenal addition. And I do think that we are missing something at that other edge spot. I am a little bit warmer on some of the players that have fill-in duty there, some of the backups, Samson Ebukam. I'm very excited to see what Charles Omenihu would be able to do in a full season within Chris Koceric's system. But I agree that really you want to try and add someone to that mix. E. Kim, who has been harsh on Jimmy and his trade value, and right now is looking, somewhat vindicated in that respect. E. Kim, one of our sneakerheads, saying, it's foolish to think Jimmy has any trade value. Cut him and move on. If this front office thinks of going with Jimmy again and not winning a Super Bowl next season, they all need to be fired. I agree that if you get to the beginning of the new league year and you still have Jimmy on the books, you have to seriously consider cutting him. I don't think that's going to be the case. I know you may think I'm crazy for that. We have to wait until this unfolds to truly be able to see. I will have no problem admitting that I was wrong about this if I was. I still don't think that I am. I'm holding on to that idea. That Niner guy coming in at Rob Schuh. Can we talk about Trent Baalke blowing up the wide receiver market? We now have to pay Debo at least $25 million. Bosa and Debo will be like $55 to $60 million annually. Yikes. I agree. Trent did us no favors. You could almost think of him like, hey, I'm about to get blown out of the league anyway. What could I do to take a couple last parting shots at the Niners and any other teams I hold resentments against? But we shall see. I mean, I think Debo was always going to earn more than I had predicted he would. I thought he was in that $20 million per year average. That seems to be a laughing stock. If you come to Debo's camp at 20 mil, they may laugh you out of the building. No question about it. The desperation, the absolute desperation of the frickin' Jaguars hurt every other team in the league. The way they jumped at some of these frickin' contracts. E. Kim saying Bosa is going to get 30 mil after his fifth-year option. I agree with that, and I do think it's possible he waits until after that fifth-year option. E. Kim also knew that Laken would leave. I had a feeling he would get that money. Another sneakerhead on the channel, Ellis10, coming in to say, what's up? What's up, Ellis? Good to see you. Here we go. That Niner guy, Steve O from Jackass, said, it hurts way more. Haha. Yes, it does. It hurts way more to hear that. Just disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Allen coming in. Rob Schuh. Hello. The Niners haven't made any kind of moves yet. Looking forward to the next few days of free agency. Whatever may happen will happen. Love the show, Rob. Allen, well said that we can't really control it. And so to get ourselves worked up into a frenzy only hurts ourselves. So I am attempting to remain calm. I'm attempting to remind myself that I didn't expect any of these big moves to be moves that the 49ers were going to make themselves. So we haven't missed out on a lot. John Perez pointing out the historical evidence existed. We've been low-key in free agency for years. This is not a surprise. Ellis10 doing the good deed. Hit that like button. Please do. If you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like button to amplify the signal. If you don't already subscribe to the channel, it is fantastic freaking Niners content all the time. So consider hitting that subscribe button. All right, George coming in at Rob Schuh, watching you from the hospital right now. Can't miss the show, LOL. George, I hope that you are okay. Let me know. I hope that you're just there, for a routine, something or other, or visiting someone. I hope all is well. That Niner guy, it's okay if they are low key. I'm scared with Jimmy, though. Man, this is getting too close for comfort. I agree. I'm getting nervous about this. I still have faith. The Niners will trade Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'll get to that in just a little bit. But I agree. I'm scared with the Jimmy situation. LA Blue 49 coming in with the super chat. As Niner fans, should we really have expected anything else from our front office? Every year is the same with us. Won't be surprised if Jimmy Garoppolo stays one more year. So I agree with the first part of that we shouldn't have been surprised with the 49ers being slow to react and not overpaying in free agency. And quite honestly, with a lot of these overpays, the Christian Kirk deal comes to mind. I'm freaking glad that we were not in on that, right? There are certain players you do not want to overpay for, and you would like it if your team was involved. The one thing that I will say on the second half of this comment is if Jimmy G stays one more year, this thing could go nuclear. This could be cancerous. That could be catastrophic for the San Francisco 49ers. Catastrophic for the development of Trey Lance. Am I speaking with a little bit of hyperbole? Yes, absolutely. The frustration of the day has gotten to me a little bit in that respect. But I do think that you barely held on to the locker room. barely held on to the locker room. And now, if you push that, I just don't know. I am not confident that you can keep the locker room together for another year going with Jimmy Garoppolo starting. I mean, the fan base at the first sign of adversity would be calling for Lance. It would be a very, very tense situation. Here we go. Stivers 209 says Tom Brady returns to the Bucs and Niners play the Bucs next season. Can we sign Jimmy Garoppolo back to the 49ers? Tom Brady visits Jimmy G versus TB12. No, we can't do that. We cannot. That would be catastrophic. Yes, George is with me. No, we should not re-sign Jimmy Garoppolo. Are you crazy? I mean, we don't need to re-sign him. The man is still, unfortunately, under freaking contract. Andre Moore, one of the sneakerheads coming in, the Clash song, Should I Stay or Should I Go Now? That was terrible. I'm sorry for that singing. Comes to mind when thinking about the Jimmy G saga. Yeah, you can tell I'm a little nuts. I've been refreshing freaking Twitter for the entire day. Special site coming in. I'm going to get to that in just a little bit, but I'll give you a hint. I was surprised by the affordability of some of the cornerbacks. Yes. Luke Walsh at Rob Schuh. Did Trent Baalke cost the 49ers another high-level receiver in Debo? He cost the entire league a crap ton of money. I don't know that one contract is really going to skew everything, but it might. It freaking might. Sean 9519ers at Rob Schuh. The Watson domino needs to fall. I think that's right. And he will be meeting with the Saints and the Panthers tomorrow. I hear it's being reported it will be in Houston, that they're coming out to visit him there. That could be the last domino to fall. Who knows? Giancarlo at Rob Schuh. I want Jimmy out, but Grant came out and said the Niners are asking for 2 first-rounders for Jimmy. That seems crazy. Let me just say this. Grant did not believe the report that the Niners passed on a second rounder for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I have a hard time wrapping my mind around him thinking that the Niners are asking for 2 firsts. Potentially he heard this from someone. I have not heard that news. If the Niners are asking for that, that would be a terrible, terrible update. I've not heard that though, so I'm not confirming anything. Kevin coming in, sneakerhead on the channel, and one of our international fans here from Glasgow. Chances are the Niners will wait till the 11th hour to announce the trade or release. Jimmy is taking the piss, to be honest, but he served us well. We need the cap room. Hope we trade up to get Strange. I agree. I actually think Strange will be there at either 61 feels just a little too early to take Strange. I actually think he might be there. I think our next pick is 93. I think there's a chance that he's there at that point. I mean, look at what happened with Miners last year, right? There was huge draft crush and everybody moved him up really high. And then he didn't go quite as high, if I'm recalling it correctly. I would see that as a potential way for the 49ers to get in there on Cole Strange. I do have a huge draft crush on Cole Strange going on. I would love to see the Niners bring him in. I do feel like it's a little early to go there at 61. If we traded back a few spots, I'd be comfortable in the mid 70s or 80s there. The Sentinel. Here we go. This is a spoiler alert. This is the one I share. And I'm going to bring it in. This is a good time to make that switch to J.C. Jackson. I have my eye on J.C. Jackson. The Sentinel says I'm pissed about J.C. Jackson, and he's freaking yelling it. It is all caps all day from the Sentinel. I don't blame you. Cheers on being a little bit pissed on J.C. Jackson. Why? Because he cost $16.5 million, and my expectation was he'd be closer to 20. And so can the 49ers easily fit $16.5 million under their books? No, absolutely not. That would be a challenge. And I believe that's not too far beyond what they were expecting to spend on sort of a mid-grade cornerback. I think they had their eye on that $10 million range. And for another $6.5 million to have been able to land the premier cornerback available in free agency, to me, that would have been a win. Bringing in J.C. Jackson at $16.5 million would have been sweet. You get a cornerback coming out of New England, coached by Bill Belichick in his MFing prime, and you could lock him down for that contract. To me, That would be the one where I had a little bit of fear of missing out on this one. I can't say that the same about any of the other moves. I will say, I'm saddened that we did lose Laken Tomlinson, but $40 million to go sign with the Jets. Robert Saleh, you got yourself a hell of a player. You got yourself an Iron Man. You got yourself a NFL starting quality left guard, but you're also paying $13 million per year plus. And to me, I was in the market for Laken Tomlinson. I was pushing for Laken Tomlinson. I wanted him back, but I wanted him back at somewhere around the 10.5 million per year. And when you get up to that $13 million range, as sad as it is for me to say farewell to Laken Tomlinson, I wish him the best. I think it's phenomenal that he got paid in the way that he did. Generational type of money for a guy that played on some more inexpensive contracts and outperformed those contracts for San Francisco. Had some amazing development from the time where we traded to get him, bringing him in as an ex-first round pick who just didn't perform with the Lions. He saw that realization of his talent with San Francisco. I wish him nothing but the best as he heads off to New York. But it raises the question for the 49ers of, who are the starting guards? Basically, everyone else that you would have seen as a plan B has now been signed. I saw some of the latest as I was preparing to go live that we had some updates on some additional guards that were signing at that moment that sort of completed the list of acceptable fill-in candidates. I believe you're now looking at a scenario where the Niners' most viable plan, barring some draft pick, would be to go into next season with Aaron Banks penciled in as the left guard. And I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful that works out. I just don't think that there's considerable evidence that that's a no-brainer type of a move. So there's considerable risk. You're going into the season with a new young quarterback who needs protection on his blind side. And now you're going with an unproven commodity there. So yes, I do think I'm a little bit nervous about how that plays out. The 49ers have not brought back Daniel Brunskill, but I would anticipate that they do so, and he'll have some competition at right guard. My hope, again, is that they bring in someone like Cole Strange that can be the future starter for Alex Mack and potentially compete for one of those guard spots. All right, let's get back into your comments here. We got Sean 951 Niners. What's up, Sean? At Rob Schuh. All that matters is we're under the cap by Wednesday. Jimmy G will be gone by Wednesday. I agree that Jimmy G's most likely scenario is he is gone by 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. George Garcia, no, Jimmy Garoppolo will not stay another year. I don't think they really care for him anymore because him and his manager are a bunch of crap because he tried to take $7 more million. I think that's in reference to the injury guarantee that he would get if he were cut. That might come into play if he were cut. But I'm telling you, he will be gone. I think he'll be gone. Sean 951 Niners, Rob Schuh. What I am confused about is no restructures yet. That is odd or close to the vest. I think the latter, close to the vest. Much like the Jimmy Garoppolo deal, there is no incentive to getting it done or announcing it prior to the start of the new league year. That's the deadline for all of it. Vicky coming in, one of our sneakerheads here. The 49ers front office needs to wake up. Get whatever's being offered for Jimmy G or cut him. At the deadline, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Sean 951 Niners. At Rob Schuh. Brady only came back so he could play San Francisco. I'm just kidding, but not just kidding. Are you just kidding or not just kidding, Sean 951? To me, he referenced Tampa Bay in the tweet. It seems unlikely, but man, I don't blame anyone for not believing Brady at this point. He said he was retired. And then 2 months with his family, he decided to unretire. That's for sure. The Sentinel, Jimmy G is the expensive 6 out of 10 girlfriend who just won't leave. That sounds like a problem. That sounds like a real problem. John Perez, Laken got his, and we can't hate for that. Get your money, big fella. We will get what, like 4th round compensatory pick? Yes, John, that is correct. As it stands right now, compensatory picks are this weird calculation of how much did the player get paid? What percentage of the snaps did they have? Any offseason awards? Laken Tomlinson, according to that calculation, should net the 49ers a fourth-round compensatory pick. But it also has to factor in players that go out versus players that come in. So we won't truly know compensatory picks until a little bit later. All right, Jamie Bryant coming in at Rob Schuh. When are we making a splash in free agency? I see the biggest potential splash coming tomorrow at the earliest. I just think the 49ers are looking for value in a lot of these free agent signings, and first day signings are primarily bigger dollar freaking signings. So again, I was disappointed. I was very disappointed that the Niners didn't make moves this morning, but I wasn't completely shocked because it struck me that that's historically what they have done. I see. Luke clarifying that earlier, Grant did not mention 2 first-round picks. He was talking about 2 second-round picks and accidentally said 2 first-round picks on a live YouTube feed this morning. I gotcha. All right. Here we go. Hi, Rob. Cheers from, I cannot see that small flag right there. Is that France? Some people think that if Jimmy can't be moved soon, his value could go up if they wait after the draft. Do you think so? It's possible, but I believe it would be a mistake. If you cannot trade Jimmy by the start of the new league year, at that point, I am willing to cut him. I think that's what you got to do. It would feel terrible, but at some point, you got to cut your losses there. Matthew Mears, the cornerback, Douglas, wouldn't be a bad pickup. No, I agree. That Rasul Douglas, I have read some things linking him back to Green Bay, but I don't think anything firm. That Niner guy, the Colts are running the Mariota bluff, but I don't know if anyone believes, God, this deal needs to get done for my peace of mind. That's the reality of why I need this thing to get done sooner rather than later, is to get my peace of mind, to get my sanity back to where it needs to go. Giancarlo yelling at all of us, Rob Schuh, trade up for Christian Watson. Man, I would be okay with that. That would get you an elite returner, an elite receiver. I'm telling you. Stivers 209 show. I will take J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore to the 49ers next season. Let's take a Honey Badger from Kansas City. Kansas, it looks like Honey Badger's been signed. J.C. Jackson's been signed. Stephon Gilmore, still some hope. Dustin Kohler, one of my good friends here, coming in at Rob. They are going to be forced to accept a not-so-great trade for Jimmy G rather than cut him. Colts, maybe? I think the Colts are by far and away the biggest suitor remaining for Jimmy Garoppolo. The question is, when one of these other teams, Carolina or New Orleans, misses out on Deshaun Watson, do they re-enter the race for Jimmy G? And does that spark what the Niners need in order to get that trade done? Thomas Luttrell at Rob Schuh. Does the office know number 10 didn't throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns? What exactly is their strategy here? When the music stops, 10 will be the only one without a team. That may cause a bad teammate. I'm telling you, the musical chairs thing, the being stuck holding the bag, has been my biggest fear, that the 49ers overplayed the interest in Jimmy Garoppolo and haven't gotten a deal done. It's one of my fears. It is one of my fears. 49ers gang 916. I'm still putting out hope for Gilmore. Me too. I actually believe this is potentially the biggest trade remaining for the San Francisco 49ers and a good opportunity for me to jump into some of my previously selected topics that I wanted to hit on here. And that is first to acknowledge that Carlton Davis Jr. was another guy I had my eye on as far as cornerbacks that the 49ers might bring in. And you have a situation where I think the Tom Brady frickin' return, the Brady effect, provided a situation where Carlton Davis was willing to return to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and sign a reasonably team-friendly deal, 3 years, $45 million. So you had J.C. Jackson, who I thought was going to be $20 million a year at 16.5, and you got Carlton Davis, who I thought was going to be right behind that at $15 million per year. That leaves Stephon Gilmore. So I am with you about having some hope there. This feels like, and has been linked to the San Francisco 49ers, but feels like the biggest name out there that the 49ers might actually spend on. It's either this or edge rusher in my mind. And this one makes the most sense. It is reportedly between the 49ers and the Raiders at this point for Stephon Gilmore as far as teams most active. And Richard Sherman came out and mentioned specifically that Stephon Gilmore was going to be looking to go to the West Coast. He said the 49ers, the Seahawks, potential fits a little while back. I'm telling you, that is the one that I am holding out hope for. Sean9519 are saying at Rob Schuh, something is brewing bigger than we think. Been way too quiet in San Francisco. No moves, no restructures. 2 days from needing to be under 208 million. Blockbuster coming? Man, I hope so. I sure frickin' hope so. Paul Perryman at Rob Schuh, overreaction Monday, not only with some of these contracts, but also with the fans. Niners aren't paying a cornerback over 15 mil a year. I tend to agree. I didn't think that they would. Matt Mayoko got me hyped up. He got me hyped up that the Niners might overpay, but I was not shocked when we were not in on those biggest names coming off the board. Robert Whitaker, I'm with you. Draft my boy Cole Strange. I'm telling you, go watch the video of his interview and some of the events that he ran at the Combine on the channel. Not right now. We're vibing right now. Vicky Pellick coming in at Rob Schuh. The 49ers are front office. The 49ers front office is ego over intelligence when it comes to Jimmy G. Take whatever you can get. If they bring Jimmy back next season, what a train wreck. I tend to agree that it would be a train wreck to bring him back. Pete coming in. Are the Colts the only team interested in Jimmy? Right now, yes, but there are other teams that need a quarterback. Carolina needs a quarterback. New Orleans needs a quarterback. Houston potentially needs a quarterback. Philly has expressed interest in a quarterback. So it could heat back up. But right now, it feels like the Niners may have overplayed their hand just a little bit. Bro Montana, one of the sneakerheads on the channel saying at Rob, Bro Montana in the house. Keep up the great work. We appreciate it. I appreciate you, Bro Montana. And if, like Bro Montana, you appreciate the work, please do consider liking the content. Ken, Fashion Journey. I hope, fingers crossed, that we will get DJ Reed. I like that as the backup to Stephon Gilmore. I prefer Stephon Gilmore just a little bit, but I would understand those that actually prefer DJ Reed. Greater flexibility inside, outside, and a little bit younger. Kevin coming back in. Tom Compton was a liability. Ooh, yes. Then all of a sudden, it took my comment and threw it way down in the chat. Here we go. Compton was a liability. We need someone else to protect our quarterback on the right side that isn't beaten so easily by simple swim moves. Mike McGlinchey will be back, but it is a question mark as to whether or not he will be healthy. We may need to bring in a right tackle to help out and compete. Here we go. Foxer 53. Hey, just joining. Anyone talk to Zadarius Smith? No. Zadarius Smith did get released. I haven't heard of any updates linking him to anyone yet. That seems like a notch below Chandler Jones, but we shall see. I think the Niners will add a depth piece at edge rusher. I like Dante Fowler too. Dirk Pippen in the house, sneakerhead, and longtime friend. I think the Nick Bosa deal is what is holding everything up. Interesting. I believe that the Niners are less likely to pay Nick Bosa this offseason, much more likely to pay Debo, and their trend is to pay in July. I look for that contract extension to happen for Debo in July. I'm hoping that Bosa gets done this year as well, but I agree with a lot of folks that are throwing out the idea that Bosa's camp will hold off and try to leverage for it next year. But yes, he will get $30 million plus per year. And that is an oh my God type of a figure. William Bennett in the house, ladies and gentlemen. William Bennett coming in. Jimmy, like the guest that won't leave after the party, even in your PJs. Hey, I'm telling you, the man just needs to find a new home. Just get the man somewhere to sleep for the night. John Perez, by the way, love the show, Rob. Cheers. Cheers to you, John. I enjoy the show as always. I enjoy the show as well. See, I read this one from Niner Faith who said, Rob Schuh killing it as always. And I added the as always. Tom Jensen, one of the most insightful dudes to reach out to me by email. Tom is in the house. At Rob, what gives me hope on a Jimmy Garoppolo trade? Minimal spending by Indianapolis today. Lots of room. Bulky, we know he can't draft wide receivers, so he bought them. Yes, I just feel for the Jacksonville Jaguars fans. Trent Baalke is on one right now. I hope for their sake he is correct. It doesn't feel like it, though. Kevin, at Rob Schuh, it's already 1 a.m. here. I'll let you know what happens with Jimmy. I appreciate that. All right, Kelts Chronicles has joined the channel as the newest Sneakerhead member. Welcome, Kelts Chronicles. Robert Whitaker, at Rob Schuh, prediction. We ain't going to get much for Jimmy. I think fans will be disappointed. I will be disappointed if we don't get much for Jimmy Garoppolo. I still believe, probably rather foolishly, in the value I had attributed to him before. I don't think that has changed much. I still see it as a second and a fourth. You can gladly call me crazy at this point, especially with the fact that no deals seem imminent. But I believe that when all the chips fall, that we will show that as the value. And I think I'll be vindicated. But if I'm not, I will have no problem eating crow and admitting that I am wrong. I do hope those of you that believe there is zero trade value for Jimmy would also do the same if Jimmy Garoppolo were in fact traded. Paul Perryman saying, at Rob Schuh, playing chicken with Don Yee right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are handshakes, as they all are right now. Trade Jimmy on Wednesday at 101 and sign our handshakes. It could be that there are some things we're not hearing about. It could be that a trade is already in the works. No question about it. Kelts Chronicles saying, can we just restructure Jimmy Garoppolo to hold the boombox? He would look damn good at it, wouldn't he? Dirk Pippen pointing out the shoulder surgery timing was nuts. I agree with frickin' Joe Staley in saying, God, I almost blanked on Joe Staley's last name. How embarrassing would that have been? I believe Joe Staley when he was talking about, hey, this is business. And in business, the Niners sort of did Jimmy dirty in drafting his replacement and keeping Jimmy on the team and forcing him to live in that dynamic. This is sort of returning the favor as far as business goes. Jimmy did not want to be traded. If he goes to another team, he doesn't want that team to give up considerable assets in order to bring him in. He wants that team to use those assets to make them a Super Bowl contender. And so the suspect timing of the shoulder injury seems to fit that narrative. And I'm usually not a conspiracy theory type of guy, but when you follow the money, when you follow the assets, that one does make some sense. Oh, no. Bonnie and Bosa, 49ers saying, at Rob, he might just stay at this point. You are going to freak people the F out saying things like that. What do you want everybody to lose their mind? I'm just kidding. It is possible. It is possible. Joseph Ball, what do you think a legit trade package would look like for Gilmore? Gilmore is a free agent. You do not have to trade for him. He got traded for a 6th rounder by Carolina, but that was a 1-year rental. They never did a new deal with him. He's a free agent. I think he will be less expensive than the $15 million that Carlton Davis Jr. got. My hope would be the Niners could get him for around 12. That would be a steal in my book. That Niner guy, at Rob Schuh, I think the main thing holding Jimmy is the contract. Guessing that's a big issue. Gilmore has apparently picked up steam. Mitch got 2 years for $14 million, possibly 27, a lot cheaper than Jimmy. No question about it. No question. To me, let me just get into that topic that I wanted to talk about here, and that is Mitch Trubisky to the Steelers. I absolutely saw the potential for the Niners to lose out on the trade option because one of these teams eventually was going to say to themselves, why am I going to trade significant assets for Jimmy Garoppolo and then pay a very exorbitant salary when instead I could bring in a younger talent, someone who might rediscover something that led to them being a first-round draft pick in Mitchell Trubisky, and I can do it for a much less expensive amount of money. And I think the Steelers came to their senses in that regard. And then you had this game of musical chairs where all of a sudden one fewer destinations. And that was I believe, the reason that we're sitting where we are right now. Now we need someone else to jump back into the mix. I still believe there are people out there that could jump back into the mix, but it's a waiting game until those folks get back involved. Let me tell you. Celts Chronicles pointing out we got 250 watching, 50 likes. Hit it up. Yeah. We actually got 320 watching at this moment. Get those likes up. I mean, I just say that if you like the content, hit that like button. I would never pressure anyone, nor would I pressure the Niners into get that trade done. Get Jimmy off them books. I would pressure them in that regard if I could. If I could force the Niners to trade Jimmy G, I would do it for you, faithful. Thomas Luttrell. Thomas, I appreciated your email. I'm going to work it into the mailbag tomorrow. Don't you worry. At Rob Schuh, when I was a wee child, this team used to get busy. Dion, Kevin Green, Rod Woodson, Ricky Jackson, Ken Norton Jr., Tim McDonald. May not have always ended well, but we were there. Hey, I'm telling you, that at least the Dion thing was right before the salary cap, so that changes it a little bit. But I agree. I mean, we just haven't been really hot contenders in free agency. I'm okay with that. Not many of these big money deals are going to be ones that you look back on and say, ooh, that was the deal that got this team over the top. I don't think you're going to be looking at Jacksonville at the end of this year and saying, oh, man, Trent Baalke really hit it out of the park in free agency. I think a lot of these deals you're going to look at the end of the year and be like, man, I'm kind of glad that we didn't get involved in that. OZR Hayes. Hey, Rob, what are your thoughts on this? The Panthers are signing former Cowboy safety Xavier Woods to a 3-year, $15.75 million deal. I think that the safety market is reasonable. I think the Niners could still make a play there. I do not think that it is Jaquiski Tartt. It seems to me that he's going to be moving on, but I believe that there are other candidates out there. I know it just in talking with Jack Hammer just a moment ago on his channel that he is still in on Justin Reed. I would be fine with that. I do wonder if he is going to hold a little bit of animosity against the organization because of the treatment of his older brother. So to me, that's a question mark. But again, there are several players out there from the safety market that I think the Niners could still get significant value there. Carlos, at Rob Schuh, maybe the 49ers paid this $7.5 million for Jimmy G for the Colts could send a high pick. But if only the Colts had interest, then they don't give up more than a second. So I think what you're saying there is maybe the Niners need to sweeten the pot by paying some of Jimmy Garoppolo's salary so that they can trade him to the Colts. I don't think that's what's holding up the Colts. They have a lot of salary cap room. When they cleared Carson Wentz's entire deal from the books, that made the room for Jimmy. Maybe they believe that paying Jimmy's salary is too much, but I don't think that's what's hindering it. I think it is the lack of other teams involved. There's no pressure on the Colts to get the deal done right now. And they know that there will be pressure on the 49ers as that deadline approaches. That's the scary thing for the Niners. It becomes a game of frickin' chicken. Frickin' chicken. Darren Worthington, at Rob, we are linked to every big name free agent according to every media site. It's getting old. Love your show as always. Good job, brother. Darren, I tend to agree. JC Jackson, everybody out there that I want a piece of, the Niners are linked to, but it's just them kicking the tires. It's not really freaking interest. And so, it's one of those things where I get it. The Niners probably did inquire about those players, and I would like to see them pull the trigger on some of these. No doubt in my mind, I would like to see them pull the trigger. Stivers 209 show. Rob, I love the show. You can trade Trey Lance to get Patrick Mahomes from Kansas City. I think the Chiefs would be all over that, no doubt. Harris, at Rob, do you think the rumors about the second-round pick for Jimmy are false? I'm not sure. If there was a second-round pick and they didn't take it, that would be horrible mismanagement of the situation. Jerome, at Rob, I blame John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan for us hearing anything. They don't let anything get out. Never thought I would miss Baalke. I don't miss Baalke. Look at the deals that Baalke just had signed today. Please do not miss Baalke. Do not want him back. Do not bring that man back to the building. Let me tell you. I would rather be a little frugal than overpaying as Balky did today. It was a huge overpay on the Christian Kirk. Michael Ryder, Rob, if we didn't have a trade partner ready, why wouldn't Jimmy be released now? Why wait? I think you're hoping that you get a trade partner going. And I don't think that there are no people asking. The reports that we're hearing have merit. They're coming from somewhere. There's interest in Jimmy. People are just skeptical as to who's involved, how much to pay, when to pay it. I think we will see movement here. And the deadline, again, is not until Wednesday. That's the hard deadline. William Bennett, sneakerhead coming in. Rob Schuh. I do want to say, like said, Tomlinson was not going to be here. He wanted too much money. Just hope we can keep DJ Jones. Man, I think we're going to have to wait until maybe Wednesday to see if we get DJ Jones. If his deal gets done anytime tonight, early tomorrow, I feel like that's still going to be out of the Niners price range. He's going to need to exhaust his potential landing spots and then I think come back to us afterwards, as negative as that sounds. I don't mean to say that negatively. I just think that the Niners, unfortunately, are below those other teams in what they're willing to offer. Dirk Pippin coming in with the super chat. Feels like we are in free agency and more like we are at the turn in a game of Niners Hold'em that started last year. At the turn, and what we didn't know is somebody was dealt pocket frickin' aces, and there was an ace on the frickin' flop, and there's going to be another one on the river. It does seem to be setting up to where the 49ers get beat badly in this scenario, but I have faith. They call us faithful for a reason. I have faith that John Lynch can turn this thing around at the last moment. Come on, John Lynch. Come through for me, baby. Come through. Jeremy Spencer at Rob. Lance for Watson. Watson did want to play for us. I don't think the Niners are touching that situation. I think as soon as those cases came out, San Francisco was probably off that list. Must Win Sports at Rob Schuh. Favorite defensive back past the third round. That's an interesting one. I don't have any targets top of mind past the third. Must Win Sports. I will add that. Hold on. I'm going to add that to the mailbag. All right. DB past the third round. Tune in tomorrow for the mailbag. Must Win Sports is going to get that attributed to them. And I will look up a couple of candidates. We will have info for you. Must Win Sports. Michael Duran at Rob Schuh. I don't think the Niners are in a rush to get rid of Jimmy. And I don't know if they fully trust Trey. I can see them going into the season and having them battle in training camp. Michael, I agree that I don't think the Niners are in a rush to get rid of Jimmy in that they have 36 hours to do so, or give or take a few. But I do think they're in a rush because they have 36 hours to do so. I don't see a scenario that we go into camp with both on the roster. It just seems like a recipe for disaster. I hope that I'm right about that. I hope that you're wrong, not because I don't like Jimmy. I do. It just feels like a nightmare scenario. Ellis 10. Rob, do you see a possible Jimmy G and a fifth round to get a second round pick? I do think the Niners could get creative. If there isn't legitimate interest, they could drum some up by throwing in additional assets. That's one way to stir the pot and get it going a little bit. All right, I got a couple of topics that I wanted to hit on as well. DJ Jones, I just got to say, DJ Jones, I really hope, I'm optimistic that we haven't had him linked firmly anywhere yet, because that means that he's still available, that no one's the front runner to land him. But I do think we have to make it through another 24-hour period waiting for some DJ Jones news. Unfortunately, DJ Jones news that could take him elsewhere before we begin to raise our levels of optimism around him coming back to the San Francisco 49ers. If by end of day tomorrow, we do not have an update on DJ Jones, then I feel like there's a chance the Niners will be in that range. That, to me, feels like what we're waiting on with DJ Jones. If somebody comes in, swoops in with a deal tomorrow, my guess is that's still going to be beyond what the Niners are willing to pay. Hey, we got a fair amount of people watching right now. You know, I got to remind you, If you enjoy the content, hit that like button. Help me take my little pirate radio station and blast it out beyond the freaking Bay Area. We got people in Glasgow. We got people in England. We got people all over the place. Help me amplify that signal. I greatly appreciate it. Do I think DJ Jones is going to be back? I still am holding out hope. I am not optimistic, but I am hopeful. Hopeful. All right, let us get back into your comments. Shane, AZ, 49ers Empire, at Rob Schuh. So now that Miami has signed Chase Edmonds, it's looking good to sign Mostert now. I tend to agree with this. I thought I had a Mostert topic in there, but I didn't. So I'm glad that you brought this up because this gives me a chance to speak about this just a little bit. Yes, I do think this bodes well for the San Francisco 49ers attempts to re-sign Raheem Mostert. They spent $12 million in Miami on Chase Edmonds. You would think he's going to be their number one option. Do they have enough cap room to bring in Raheem Mostert? Yes. I don't think Raheem Mostert is going to command a very large deal. It will be considerably smaller than the Chase Edmonds deal. I would anticipate it would be a one-year deal in the range of $3 to $4 million. I think that's something the 49ers could fit within their cap. The question I have is, will Raheem Mostert, if given two very similar options, one from Miami and one from San Francisco, would he prefer to go to Miami? He is from Florida, right? He went to school out there. The man's a surfer. Obviously, there's surfing in San Francisco, but it's not quite as good as the warm weather down there in Florida. Actually, the waves may be a little bit better, but you got to wear a freaking wetsuit because it's cold as all get out. Ask Dirk Pippen. He lives near some surfing spots in San Francisco. But yes, I think it's possible he comes back. But as I was saying, if he has comparable offers, I do wonder if he chooses Miami for a fresh start. You remember he had the injury here and the very negative reaction by 49er faithful, by a small crowd of 49er faithful, sending horrible tweets to his wife. My guess is he's not forgotten that and that it didn't endear him to taking a lesser deal. It's a complicated situation. I think there is a healthy chance Raheem Mostert is back with the 49ers. Luke Walsh, at Rob Schuh, I'm hoping for a Garoppolo trade, but Super Bowl teams now have to play 21 games per season. If no offer better than a third, I'd be tempted to hang on to Jimmy in 2022. I get what you're saying there, especially after the Niners spent so much time convincing us how important the backup quarterback position is, only to go out and sign Nate frickin' Sudfeld as their backup quarterback and basically tell us that it is not an important position. So that to me was a little bit confusing. But again, I just don't think that the locker room can actually withstand another season of Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, will they, won't they type of frickin' situation. I just don't think that it's tenable. LA Blue 49, at Rob, there was a report earlier today that the Niners would be willing to hold on to Jimmy until training camp before trading him. I did read that, and I just don't necessarily believe it. That feels like a bluff. That feels like, hey, you don't want to trade for him? We're not going to release him. No, we're not going to release him so that you can have him for nothing. We are going to keep him. Why? Because we could use the competition. We'll have him here in training camp. It'll be no issue. People love Jimmy in the locker room. That to me sounds like a line of BS. That to me sounds like a team that is trying to drum up some interest and create a deadline that other teams may not feel exists at this moment. All right, I saw a super chat. Got to get that in here. Syard, one of the sneakerheads on the channel. Thoughts on Marquez Valdez Scantling? Syard is reading my mind. Let me get that banner up there for you. We need a speed guy. We absolutely need a speed guy. The Niners have a need at that position. MVS is by far the best option out there. I do wonder about production. You look at the production that he had with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to him, and, you know, it's not spectacular. It's a great average per reception, but he's not a high volume guy. To me, this one is much more intriguing if you can get him at a reasonable price. I like filling out the receiver room with a high caliber receiving threat, a deep threat. I do think that with Lance coming in, he's much more of a threat to throw down the field, and that it would be a complimentary wide receiver to bring in. But I'm going to touch on it in just 1 second. Matter of fact, I'll transition to it right now because it's a good transition into it. But to me, you could do a 2 birds, 1 stone situation. The return men. There are 3 people who have been linked to the San Francisco 49ers as potential return folks, kick returners, and that is Jakeem Grant, Ray McCloud, and Khalif Raymond. Now, those first 2, Jakeem Grant and Ray McCloud, Jakeem Grant in particular, you could get both. You could get both a returner and a quality wide receiver. So if I had to choose between Marquez, Valdez-Scantling, and Jakeem Grant, I would go the Jakeem Grant route. I would be equally as thrilled if the Niners brought in MVS and Ray McCloud. But I've also got my eyes on a couple of return men in the draft. So I'm not dead set on bringing in a return man. But to me, that's value. To me, that is not just a deep threat that I'm cautiously optimistic would get used more, but not certain of, right? I mean, if the offense looks like it did this previous year, bringing in someone like Marquez Valdez-Scantling seems like a bit of a waste for the San Francisco 49ers. Whereas Jakeem Grant, Ray McCloud, even if they didn't add anything to the San Francisco 49ers offense, what they would have brought to the return game would be value in and of itself. So that to me is kind of my 2 cents about MVS and the return game as well. See, we've got super chat coming in. William Bennett. Thank you, William. Sneakerhead here on the channel and just a good dude. Rob always has great content. Hit that like and subscribe for this Niners faithful. Man, I didn't even read that before giving you the shout out and the compliment. And then you go and say nice things about me. That's why I like this dude. William Bennett, a high-class dude out there in Washington, D.C. William, cheers to you. I know you got that mug. Throw it up to your camera. Even if I can't see it right now, I'm picturing it. I am picturing that mug right now, William. Cheers. Cheers, my friend. All right. I'm going to try to go back in the comments a little bit, but I had to catch up some. If I missed yours, please feel free to repost it again. Don't spam it in there. Don't make it hard for me to read in here, but copy and paste that thing if I missed it. If your comment was put in before William Bennett's super chat, copy and paste that thing right back in. Come on Friday, coming in at Rob, need a vet, and I'd go slot like Landry and move Brandon Ayuk and Debo outside. Thoughts? When Landry got cut, I thought to myself, is there any chance the Niners go after him? I feel like he is an undervalued, hyper-productive, great possession receiver. Man, I'd be thrilled to bring him in. You would think he's looking for a contender. You would think the Niners fit that bill. The only question mark I have is if he would price himself out of where the San Francisco 49ers could actually afford him to bring him in. But as far as talent, yes, I think that talent would absolutely bring that in. I do. Tim Sloper, I think you're agreeing with me here. Maybe you're arguing with someone else there, but not true. Jakeem Grant is a much better fit for our needs. That's what I'm talking about. I said I would like Jakeem Grant. So maybe you are contradicting someone else's comment or another person in the chat. Stivers 209, Rob, do you hear Colin Kaepernick is coming back to the NFL? Seattle Seahawks, it's looking at him. Is looking at him. I would not be surprised if anyone kicked the tires on Kaepernick. What I am shocked about is it took this freaking long to actually consider bringing him back to the league. I don't actually believe it'll happen until it does happen. I won't believe it till I see it. But I'm glad that he's at least out there. He's at least attempting to get back in. The fact that he got blackballed from the league is unacceptable in my mind. Carlos at Rob Schuh, maybe pay $7.5 million in interest for Saints holding a trade too. Right now, a 7th round is okay for me. So you're saying get rid of Jimmy, even if you got to pay some of the salary and you only get a 7th rounder back. I mean, that's fair. The closer you get to, Siri wants it. Siri, quiet down. She's acting up. Got to take the Apple Watch off. I do think as it gets closer to the deadline, you may have to make some of those concessions and get creative in it. Now, I just saw someone talking about DJ Jones, and I'm not going to say it because that would be sacrilegious. I'm searching it on frickin' Twitter, and I'm not seeing anything yet. So I do not believe it. We've got reports just 11 minutes ago, Larry Krueger talking about the Niners need to sign DJ Jones, that Kinlaw is not an interior rusher. So as of 11 minutes ago, he had not been signed by anyone. So this is not news, but Pokemon trying to speak it into existence. I'm not having it. Not having it. No offense, Pokemon. William Bennett with the super chat coming in. They could give DJ Jones a 1-year deal and next offer him more. I agree. Get this man paid. Get him his $6.5 million. Get him his $7 million. Beyond 7, I start to get a little skeptical, but if you're not signing anybody else, DJ Jones, who? DJ Jones. Silent Seth, sneakerhead here on the channel. I don't know if you talked about this or not because I had to leave for a bit. That's not acceptable, Seth. I'm kidding. But what are your thoughts on the 49ers having high interest in signing Stephon Gilmore? I did talk about it, and I freaking love it. I absolutely love it. All right, let's get to, look at this. Dirk saying MVS is just a decoy. Let us be clear. Dirk is a very, very close friend, longtime friend, and a Packers fan, so he may have ulterior motives. He certainly does when he says, mash the like button. He certainly has ulterior motives in pumping up his old friend in that regard. I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it. All right, how about them Niners? At Rob, will you take Will Hernandez to replace Laken? Will Hernandez, I mean, I'm not terribly familiar with Will Hernandez. That jumps out to me as a much more middling guard. I would rather go the route of seeing what we have in Aaron Banks in that regard. Spy Nick Danger at Rob, the Niners are always late. Clearance sale, bargain, basement buyers. Yeah, it shouldn't shock us at this point, right? It shouldn't. We should be used to it. Corey Wiggs coming in. If we miss out on Gilmore, what's your opinion on Charvarius Ward? That would be my next target. I do think it is worth adding a veteran cornerback. I think having veteran savvy at the corner position adds significant value, whereas something like a speed edge rusher, much easier to get production from someone coming out of the draft, because that's just something it's like, hey, get after the freaking quarterback. Richie coming in. Frustrating having to sit back and wait to get Jimmy G off the books. They haven't even restructured any contracts to get under the cap. Free agency is passing by. Richie, I agree. It is passing us by. I agree it is frustrating. I hear you. But keep in mind that we're not prevented from signing anybody right now, even having Jimmy's money on the books. There's no hard cap until the start of the new league year at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday. So it would have been nice to get Jimmy off the books so that you didn't have to explain that to potential free agent suitors, so that you could have just said, hey, we have this chunk of cap available. We're going to be signing people. Trey Lance is going to be our starter next year. It's still the cloak and dagger type of stuff where they have to tell each individual free agent, don't worry, Jimmy will be off the books. Trey Lance will be our starter. We'll release him if we can't trade him. But they're not prevented from doing any of these handshake deals because that's all they are at this point. None of them are real until the new league year starts. All those restructures could be done Wednesday at 12:55. And that would free up the needed cap space to sign any free agents. You could also trade Jimmy at that 12:55 slot and get that freed up money to sign everybody at 1 p.m. This is an interesting one from Don. 49ers should bring Jimmy G off the bench and not start him. I think that would be a disaster. Innovative energy. Get ready, folks. We will sign nobody of importance, maybe a few role players. Front office seems to have fumbled the departure of Jimmy G, free agency. Don't worry about the money from Jimmy coming off the books. Again, you don't need that. You can make these deals. So those are two separate points. The Niners are being conservative. They are being a bit tight with their money, if you want to say that. and they have yet to trade Jimmy G. Those two things are independent of one another. They could trade Jimmy G, have that cap space available, and still be conservative in their approach to free agency. I do think they have their eyes on their own players. That's still who I have my eye on. The only one we've lost so far is Laken, and that hurts, but it's not everybody else. Tim, clarifying, he was indeed agreeing with me. That means you were right, Tim. If you're agreeing with me, it puts you in the right automatically. I'm just kidding. Typically, that means you're wrong in agreeing with me. I'm kidding. Come on Friday. At Rob, do you look at trading Mike McGlinchey for a pick and trade Armstead? Sign DJ Jones, free cap space from both, and look at the market for defensive line and O-line. Trading McGlinchey, I just don't know that you're going to be able to find a suitor, and I like McGlinchey. I hope he returns healthy. Armstead, I also think, is a valuable piece, and I think it's more likely they extend his contract than trade him. I do hope they sign DJ Jones, and I think there are some other value pieces they'll have their eyes on. Interesting one. Dr. Robert Anthony Jr. Is reporting here. I've yet to confirm. At Rob, Von Miller just signed with the Cowboys. I am going back to Twitter to look at this. Is it, in fact, a story that has broken? Where are we going with Von Miller? You know what? We got to do a little Von Miller search to see it. What is the latest on Von Miller? No Von Miller? Honestly, I have yet to see it actually reported. I see some things about going back to Denver. So I do wonder if it has broken yet, maybe just seen from one source. It's not been confirmed. I cannot currently confirm it, unfortunately. Felipe coming in at Schuh. Frustrating. Feels like the more we wait, might we lose out on guys? Yes. But again, I think it's it is their strategy coming into it. I think that this has been their strategy to be conservative and not overpay for guys. Key stat on Marquez Valdez-Scantling coming in from the Packer fan in the building, Dirk Pippen. Key Marquez Valdez-Scantling 2022 stat. MVS targets. I think this is probably 2021. 55 versus 26 receptions. That is not a great rate for attempts versus receptions, passes versus receptions. Again, I don't want to overpay for that signing. I would rather get Jakeem Grant. Xavier coming in at Rob Schuh. Do you think the Niners think they have their nickel cornerback replacement already on the roster in Mosley? He played there originally. That's interesting. They might get cheap at one of these positions. I think the position they're most likely to get cheap at is strong safety. I think there's considerable value there, but I think that's where they may get cheap. Frederick Peterson, my bad for not getting to this earlier. Frederick with the super chat. Love you, Rob. Followed you from Grant. I'm late, but are we seriously looking at keeping Jimmy another year? I think this would be a disaster on all fronts. Can we please let this clown off the team? Frederick, I get your frustration through and through. I share your frustration in moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't view him as a clown. I don't disparage Jimmy. I have warm feelings towards Jimmy as an ex-player that contributed to dragging this franchise out of the depths that they were in 2017. I won't forget his contributions to this team. I also think it is time for the 49ers, for the Niner faithful, and for Jimmy Garoppolo to move the F on. It's done. Like, this is just a nasty relationship at this point, a nasty breakup. It feels like it's dragging on. I agree. It is time to cut bait here. At this point, the Niners are still attempting to maximize that trade. And until the deadline at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday, they should continue to maximize that trade. However, if they cannot get the trade done, yes, the priority at that point, in my mind, becomes getting him off of the books. So I agree wholeheartedly in that sentiment. At Rob Schuh, I seen your tweet on how Houston refuses to trade Watson to Indy. Also, with Watson rejecting Seattle, win-win so far for the 49ers. Yes, Ellis, that brings in two of my last topics that I want to hit here. Deshaun Watson rebuking the frickin' Seattle Seahawks. I just brought it in because it makes you smile. It's just good news for Niner faithful. On a day where we didn't have very much good news, here it is. Deshaun Watson said, hard pass, Seattle Seahawks. I don't think I want any part of your organization. Deshaun Watson, the man who has 22 civil cases pending against him right now, said, I don't want to deal with your organization. That's wild to me. That is wild. When you are supposedly the person that's facing all the scrutiny and you flip it right around on Seattle and say, I'm sorry, I don't really feel like coming to play up in the Pacific Northwest for your trash organization. I'm kidding. This is me kicking Seattle while they're down, but it's fun to do. It doesn't happen often. And yes, I did take some joy in that. I feel better about it because I'm not laughing at like an individual person's pain. I'm laughing at an organization as a whole as I try to rip my mic stand off of the frickin' desk because I'm that excited about laughing at the Seahawks organizational suffrage because it's not an individual person. I can't rub it in on one person or one fan, but the whole organization, I can take some joy in that. And then, yes, the other piece of that is no, Indy, you cannot speak with Deshaun. With the Houston Texans saying, you are in the division, you can't have Deshaun Watson. That means Indy has no real other choice, save for the conspiracy theory that Deshaun could say, hey, Indy has interest. I'm going to go ahead and say no to every other team in the league. I'm going to say no to the 30 other teams except for Indy. And now you only have one potential trade partner. That would be a weird scenario. That could happen. I think it is highly unlikely. But what this did was force Indy back to the table. If they want to win now, they are a team built to win now. They are a roster built to win now. The quarterback that makes the most sense for them is absolutely Jimmy Garoppolo. Absolutely. The other piece that happened today that erased the possibility of my prediction, didn't erase it, but made it, down to 1/10%, was the idea that Jimmy's not going to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh wised up and said, nope, we are going the cheap route. We're going to bring in Mitchell Trubisky. We're going to draft a quarterback and not have to deal with this Jimmy Garoppolo sweepstakes. I believe them to be the best suitor. I predicted it from way back in November that it would be a second and fourth from Pittsburgh. I was wrong about that. But what I will say in closing on this topic is the Jimmy trade still happens in my book. I realize it looks bleak. I realize that I am pushing against the tide when I say this. I know that you're looking at the screen saying, Rob, you're wrong. Why are you doubling down? Jimmy's going to have to get cut. I just don't believe it. The supply and demand for quarterbacks will eventually dictate, as we come up against this hard deadline, will eventually dictate that a team reaches out and trades for Jimmy Garoppolo. Mark my words on it. I'm telling you, it will happen. It will happen. Man, I got the comments flying in, and I got to get to them. I see a super chat. That Niner guy coming in, much appreciated. That Niner guy saying, guys, I got to be honest. Most of the guys signed today got overpaid by a mile. J.C. Jackson was about right value, but tough to swallow. But let's calm down and see what they do. They have a plan. Let's see it. That's the reality. The Niners have not overpaid. They have been prudent. They allowed Laken Tomlinson to depart, but they did so because Laken Tomlinson got paid over $13 million per freaking year in a 3-year contract. So is it surprising that the 49ers allowed him to escape? No, it is not. J.C. Jackson, that's the one I have a little bit of fear of missing out, but not a whole heck of a lot. And if we do land Stephon Gilmore, I'll forget about J.C. Jackson because I do think from schematically speaking that could actually be a better fit for the 49ers and could be about $3 to $4 million less per year than J.C. Jackson went for. So could be a value. You do have to wait and see at this point. It is a wait and see type of approach. And I get that that's not easy. It is not easy to say that the Niners are going to slow play this, that we may have to wait just a little bit longer, but that's the reality. And I agree with Tim Sloper here saying it's prudent to be tight with money when you've got 2 Pro Bowl studs to be extended. Nick Bosa, you know Debo just got freaking $4 more million per year because of the Kirk deal that got done. Man, it's tough. Bay Area Baller, I agree with this. One of our sneakerheads saying, I think they go cheap at right guard. I think they do too. I think they bring back Brunskill. I think that it'll be Brunskill freaking competing for that. HR talking, it's just frustration here. Niners, stop clowning around. Let's get serious here. All of a sudden, let's get serious. Stivers, Rob, are you waiting for the United States Football League on April 16th? No, I am waiting for free agency to technically begin on March 16th, but I will watch the USFL. Is that the new league that's coming out? I'm fascinated by any of these new leagues that attempt to get going. Competing against the 49ers, I'm telling you, not the 49ers, against the NFL. Here I am trying to read comments and speak at the same time. And let me tell you, I'm the guy who cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. Mark Hicks. Mark, I am reading this, but I can't make sense of it. Hat is your favorite 49er. Who is my favorite 49er? I mean, I would have to say Jerry Rice is my favorite 49er of all time, but this guy can't even get my arm to point to it. This guy is right up there. Yes, he is. Mark Hicks, by the way, another one of my buddies coming in to the chat, and I appreciate it. I absolutely. All right, James Schaefer at Rob, you mentioned the Honey Badger signed already. I do not see that news anywhere. I did see that, man. I swear I saw a 2-year deal for the Honey Badger, but I will check to see if I can confirm that. He may still be available. Ravens, but that's not a report. The Raiders are closing in on signing free agent safety Tyrann Mathieu, but that was way earlier. So I have not seen an update date since then. I think you're right. I think he is still available. My correction stands. Let me tell you. All right. I know I have a few super chats to get to here, but the comments just fly in too quickly for me to keep up. That's the way in which it happens. Craig, sorry for the delay. Here we go. Hi, Rob. I want Raheem back. Is that possible? My main gripe is the ref groupings and how they control outcomes, man. Come get some barbecue. Craig. Oh, yes. Craig is over. I am definitely coming out for some barbecue. I will be out there. I think he's in McMinnville, runs a dope barbecue spot. I will be out there. You know, I love promoting barbecue. I got DJ Jones barbecue sauce. Maybe I'll bring you a bottle of DJ Jones barbecue sauce and you could maybe put it on a dish and give it away to someone for charity. I don't know. We can get creative, but I do have some extra DJ Jones barbecue sauce to give out. And that feels like something that could go to somebody who runs a barbecue joint. Castro 007 dropping the 99-cent super sticker and a Raiders fan. I like that fact. I like just coming in and getting things rolling from fellow fan bases. But yes, Mostert could still be on the frickin' books for the Niners. That would be a phenomenal signing in my mind. I think it's got to be a value one. I think you're probably looking at a situation where it's, 1 year, $3.5 million, somewhere in that range. I'm telling you. Nick J, any updates with DJ Jones, Arden Key? Nothing I have seen to this point. Nothing I have seen to this point. Silent Steph, it's like your grandma or grandpa taking you to a yard sale. The 49ers front office full on people that use all the coupons in one day. They have been a little cheap. They have. Stivers 209 saying my favorite 49er, Rob, is Joe Montana. I cannot fault you for that. Not in the least. Ramon pointing out it was a fake report. We may be talking about the Tyrann Mathieu that happened earlier. I agree. I didn't find anything about that expanding on him being signed, so I have no actual evidence of it. I think he's still available. Jack Cohen coming in at Rob. Between being an Angels and Niners fan, I am mentally not okay with nothing happening. You're not the only Niner fan. You are not the only Niner fan that is upset with nothing happening. And like I said, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. J10, Rob, you're killing it with the viewers. Yes, it is a dope show. You guys are enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. We're soaking it up. Nothing may have happened, but we are venting, people. We are letting those emotions out. We are preparing ourselves. We got a couple more days of this, a couple more days of waiting. So you got to vent. You got to woosah. You got to get yourself in that right mind frame and be ready for tomorrow. Bryant, at Rob, we need to sign or draft a returner. I agree. I got my eyes set on two of the return men we've been linked to, Jakeem Grant or Ray McLeod. If not, I have my draft crush. Hold on. Let me find my draft crush here. My draft crush is, who was it? Again, Marcus Jones out of Houston. Man, I can't believe that I blanked on last name on Marcus. Marcus Jones, stud nickel. He's a little guy, but man, an electric returner. If we don't end up with one of those guys in free agency that we've been linked to so far, Marcus Jones is at the top of my list. And he's coming off of a couple of shoulder surgeries, so there is the chance that he goes later in the draft. We got to wait. He didn't run at the combine. I just got so impressed by his interview at the combine, but he didn't run because of those shoulder surgeries. He had just had the left one done like 6 weeks ago, then that healed, and then he got the right one done, and it was that one that he's still recovering from. It was in a sling still, so he didn't do any of the drills. That would be my target. But if he runs a fast 40 at his pro day, he may climb, and that could be trouble. Our Mob Nation coming in. Be sure to sack that like button, faithful. Yes, we do have a lot of people watching. That is your opportunity to help Rob Schuh and the Schuh Show get these likes up, get more eyes on this video, get more subscribers on this channel. Swan Song, one of the sneakerheads on the channel, at Rob Schuh, seen on Twitter. That account posting Tyrann Mathieu to the Raiders is a troll account. Man, it is weak. It is weak. How many of these accounts exist out there just to drop fake news on a day like today? That is a weird thing to get joy from, but hey, to each their own. Miguel coming in. Niners will miss out on top free agents. I don't think they're capable of making any deals done. And then Lynch will come out and mumble about how they tried. That's a fair assessment and a rather comical way to describe it, and maybe sad in some respects, but I think very accurate. You will have John Lynch say, hey, we were active in free agency. We kicked the tires on a lot of these guys. We had our target price, and a lot of these guys ended up going for well beyond that. And I think he will, for the most part, be wise in his prudence. I think he will be able to speak to that from a place of confidence, because I think he's right. A lot of these deals that went out today were overpayments, but a few weren't. And the question becomes, did the 49ers miss out on any key additions because of this Moneyball approach? I don't think so just yet. Not in my opinion. Frederick coming in at Rob. If they keep Jimmy, would he start or back up? I think either way, it's trouble. I agree. Either way, it's a catastrophe. A catastrophe. Steve Avia yelling it out as a sneakerhead. Smash the like button, Niner gang. AJB doing the good work as well. I just like to put those posts up as a thank you to those of you in the comments that are constantly saying that, because it does help. And I do appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And Joseph for calling me the GOAT. I mean, that's like Jerry Rice level. I don't believe it, but I appreciate it. Have we got a nickname for Cole Strange already? Coke Strange. It's not the new Coke. It's the Strange Coke. I like it. Here we go. LS10 predicting it. I can feel it. Tomorrow is the big day. I do think you may be right. By the way, Jan did come in and correct it to Cole. It's not a new nickname, although I like it. I like the Coke Strange. It's better than Coke Zero, that's for sure. All right, we've got a super chat. Getting to it. Jerome. Niner front office are the parents that don't let their kids open one present before Christmas free agency. Yes, they are very disciplined. They force you to wait for that value. It's coming, though. It is coming. The signings will happen. They're just waiting for that value. I agree, Dirk. They are playing the long game. J10 at Rob, 49ers did not do anything today, but benefited from a few great players leaving the NFC West, even some Rams today. I have not seen all of the departures. Quite honestly, I'm so obsessed with what the Niners are doing that I need to look at it big picture. But I agree. I don't see anything. Nothing happened today where I can legitimately be mad at the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just disappointed. We didn't make more moves. A little more action. Just give me a taste. Just give me a taste. Cosmo, 49er, at Rob Schuh. I'm betting the Niners' moves in free agency hinge on when, if Jimmy gets traded. Cap issues. See, just a minor correction there, that the Niners don't need to be under the cap right now. That cap cutoff isn't until 1 p.m. Wednesday. The Niners can do whatever they could sign $150 million in players right now because they're all handshake deals. So I agree that there are some things hinging on the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, but I don't think that's not why we're being so conservative in free agency. I'll say that and leave it there. G-Bo, as the newest member of the channel, welcome to the Sneakerhead community, G-Bo. Appreciate that membership. Part of the crew can call in on video on Thursdays. I'm telling you. Starco Fan 212 at Rob Schuh. Are you scared that the Seahawks can get a good quarterback in the draft or free agency? I'm not, because I don't see those options out there. They might land on a quarterback in the draft. I just don't think that it is going to be that deep of a class. I think there's a reason that there aren't going to be many quarterbacks taken in that first round. I'm telling you. I don't like seeing mention of DJ Jones. I'm going to Twitter. I am going to Twitter and I am refresh. Oh no. Niner faithful. The report is official. Matt Barrows, 49ers lose Laken Tomlinson and DJ Jones on the same day. Compensatory picks in 2023, though. I don't care about the compensatory picks. You're telling me that we couldn't make it happen? Holy moly, the Broncos agreed to terms with DJ Jones on a 3-year, $30 million deal with $20 million fully guaranteed. Big addition. That's tough, right? You got to see the terms of the contract. 30 mil, 10 million a year is way more than I would have budgeted for DJ Jones. I was at like 6.5. But that 20 mil figure, depending on the actual contract, at 20 mil is pretty close to 6.5. So 6.5, 7. I'll wait until the contract deals come out. This could be the first time that I have actual fear of missing out. Frankie was reporting it first. Bye-bye, DJ Jones. Damn it. DJ, good for you, DJ. Good for you. Troy coming in. Rob, the Donkeys just signed DJ Jones. It was, in fact, the Broncos taking DJ Jones. That is a sad one. That is a sad one. You're counting on Javon Kinlaw to come in and fill those shoes, and that seems like a stretch. That is absolutely a critical loss. Kevin coming in. This is a moment out. I'm going to do something positive, and then we'll go to that for the sort of the moment of seriousness. But we have a new member, Quarry coming in. Quarry TW3, the newest sneakerhead on the channel. Love it. Absolutely love people coming in, join this channel. Kevin, I absolutely will take a moment to do this. At Rob Schuh, as a fellow empath, can we just take a moment to send love to those in Ukraine? It's fun and all being in love with the NFL, but it's so much more to be aware that football isn't the end-all, be-all. I agree with that, and I agree with taking a moment for those in Ukraine and nothing but my heart going out to them. It's the type of scenario that there's almost no words for it. You just hope that things improve and that things end well, and that those people who are suffering get some respite in some way or another. The DJ Jones loss is tough. People talking about it, people upset about it. Next, please. Damn, DJ Jones gone. Shaking my head. Great one. Yes, DJ Jones to the Broncos. That is unfortunate. Next, please. Yes, this one is legit. I read it from Matt Barrows. Am I joking, Harris? Unfortunately, no, I am not. The Broncos have signed him for 3 years, $30 million. Jan, the sauce lives on. The sauce lives on. But yes, we will have to do a giveaway. We will have to do a giveaway for the sauce. Man. Sean 9519ers, I know you're feeling it too. At Rob Schuh, open that bottle up. Like you said, you would open it and use it when he's no longer on the team. No doubt. There will be some going out. I have a couple of bottles of it. There will be some going out as a giveaway in tribute, and some that will be poured out for the homies here at the house. Man. I have to disagree on this one, Steve. Steve coming in. Not that mad about DJ leaving, though, guys. Let's be real. He's never been a great player for us, especially at nose tackle. I think it was the shift of he and Eric Armstead that gave us the number one rushing defense. And to me, that is so much more important than people actually give credit for. To be able to make a team one-dimensional, so critical. So critical. Man, that's a tough one. All right, we got a super chat coming in as well. Got to get to that. Syard, with DJ gone, maybe an unorthodox silver lining, but if Kinlaw is even average with his size, he'll be cheap for years, assuming he improves, is decent. That's true. You have to make up for that loss by hoping that someone steps in and fills the void. And I truly hope that is Javon Kinlaw. Not just for the 49ers, but also for Javon. I mean, he deserves to find that production. He deserves to unlock his potential. And that knee has been lingering for a long time. My hope is that this surgery did in fact clear it up, and he can begin to contribute at a better level. And you know, it's unfortunate, but that is why you have depth. NorCal Refrigeration and HVAC, that's 2 huge losses. There's no way this team is going to be better than last year. And who's kicking field goals next season? Well, Robbie Gould is still there. I don't think they've released him. He's still under contract. And I do think that you do have some options behind him. I agree with Victoria here on anyone disparaging DJ Jones. Y'all tripping. DJ Jones always showed up and rarely folded during big moments. The only knock against DJ was staying healthy in my mind. But John B points out, this is why we have Kinlaw and this is why we have Banks. And I get that feels like a drop-off. I get that feels like a lot of unknowns at this moment. But that's why you have depth. That is why you have depth. Steve Avia, at Rob, I get it. The 49er faithful have every right to be upset. No major signings, and we keep getting poached for our best free agents. I think we still have to be patient, but after the loss of DJ Jones, yeah, first day, that's an L. That's an L for day one. Shane AZ, 49ers Empire, Rob, I'm effing pissed now. What are we doing? Hey, I get it, but again, you can't overpay. That's the shame. William Bennett, have a moment of silence for the loss of DJ Jones. Cheers, DJ. We're going to miss you. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you did for the San Francisco 49ers, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm glad that you got your bag. I am glad that you got paid. All right. Well, that wraps it. Hate to end it on a negative note, but hey, that's the way in which this day ended for the 49ers. Couldn't get the deal done on Laken Tomlinson or DJ Jones. We need redemption in the next couple of days, Niners. We need you, John Lynch, to be out there taking advantage of some of these freaking available free agents. And yes, Niner Cali boy, we realize DJ Jones did not die. I wish him nothing but the best at his new destination. I am, in fact, though, sad about losing him from the Niners. I am glad that we're not overpaying for free agents, but it's time to start adding and not losing talent from this roster. And I have faith that we will. Trade is coming soon. I will be back on with the mailbag tomorrow at 5 p.m. Hit me at 49ersmailbag@gmail.com with your questions. I'll send out a request for Twitter questions tomorrow at 8 or 9 a.m. off of this handle here, the left Schuh. All right. Until then, Niner faithful, cheers.